He pulled me onto his lap, sexually assaulted me, told me that it was going to be okay, and then carried me downstairs where he finished opening up the entry to the underground dungeon.
In the quiet town of Mastic Beach, Long Island, on December 30th, 1982, Katie Beers was born. To those who know her story, she would become known as the girl in the wall. Her early years were marked by hardship and neglect. Abandoned by her mother, Katie was left in the care of her godmother, Linda, and Linda's husband, Sal. Instead of finding a loving home, Katie became their servant, forced to handle chores from a young age and subjected to relentless abuse. Even worse, Sal, her godmother's husband, began sexually abusing her when she was just 2 years old. When Katie tried to confide in Linda at the age of 7, she was met with disbelief and hostility, further isolating her from the outside world. She was denied an education and grew up with no friends her own age. The only adult who seemed to show her kindness was John Esposito, known to the neighborhood children as Big John for his involvement in the Big Brother Big Sister program. Katie cherished the time she spent with him, seeing him as a confidant and protector, never suspecting the darkness that lay beneath his friendly exterior. Just before her 10th birthday, Katie's life took a devastating turn. On December 28, 1992, John Esposito took her to Spaceplex, her favorite amusement center on Long Island, under the pretense of celebrating her birthday. The day, which began with joy and excitement, quickly descended into horror. After leaving Spaceplex, John abducted Katie, threatening her with a knife and silencing her desperate pleas for help. He carried her into his home, where he revealed a hidden tunnel behind a closet wall. The tunnel led to a concealed underground chamber, a dungeon he had meticulously constructed. Katie was forced to crawl through the passageway and locked inside a small, dark cubby hole. For over 3 weeks, she remained trapped, chained, and alone, enduring unimaginable fear and suffering. Meanwhile, the Long Island police launched an intense investigation, sifting through a web of suspicious characters and false leads. Many feared the worst, believing that if Katie was behind the wall, she could not possibly be alive. Yet, even in captivity, Katie demonstrated remarkable resilience and intelligence. She tried every strategy she could to survive and ultimately managed to change her captor's mind, leading to her eventual rescue. Katie Beers' ordeal was a harrowing tale of survival against all odds. A young girl who, despite years of abuse and isolation, found the strength to save herself and bring her kidnapper to justice. Her story remains a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Katie Beers described the space where she was held captive as nothing short of a dungeon, a place from which escape seemed impossible. The room contained a filthy mattress and a makeshift, soundproof casket surrounded by chains. Her captor coldly informed her, "This is your home now." On the day of the abduction, Katie's godmother, Linda, recalled receiving a chilling phone call in which a girl's terrified voice described a man coming after her with a knife, exclaiming, "Oh my God, here he comes." By the time Linda answered, the caller was gone. This call immediately raised concerns for Dominic Varone, the head of the Long Island Police Kidnapping Division. He noted that, in many cases, abductions are staged to look real, and statistically, over 95% of kidnappings are committed by someone close to the victim. The call's content and the use of the word kidnap by a 9-year-old seemed suspicious, as did the idea that a child could escape an abductor to make a phone call. Despite these doubts, the urgency to find Katie remained paramount. Investigators found no trace of her at Spaceplex, the recreation center where she was last seen. The only lead was the distressed message left on Linda's answering machine. The police sent the audio tape and recording device to the FBI for analysis, while continuing their investigation, focusing on several suspects. Katie's biological mother, Marilyn Beers, described as dysfunctional and incompetent, her godmother, Linda Inghilleri, who used Katie for errands, Sal Inghilleri, previously charged with sexually abusing Katie, and John Esposito, a family friend and the last person to see Katie before her disappearance. The FBI's findings revealed that the call was placed from a phone booth outside Spaceplex, yet Katie had never been found inside the center. She had attempted to call Linda 19 times before leaving the recorded message. The crucial breakthrough came when the FBI determined that the call was not made live by Katie, but was instead a recording, an attempt to mislead investigators into believing she had escaped and was calling for help. Back in captivity, Katie realized her dire situation and resolved to fight for her survival. She noticed that the casket's door was loose and, after persistent kicking, managed to break it open. This small victory gave her hope, but she quickly remembered that the casket was still inside the locked dungeon. Searching for anything that could aid her, she found a set of keys on a shelf and hid one beneath the mattress, hoping it might help her later. Before she could act further, her captor returned. Discovering the open casket, he assaulted her for the first time. During her captivity, Katie endured repeated abuse, but she was allowed to keep the television on at all times, providing a small distraction from her ordeal. Despite the unimaginable trauma, Katie's resilience and determination to survive would ultimately play a crucial role in her eventual rescue. After the police determined that the call regarding Katie Beers' disappearance was pre-recorded, they began to develop several theories about her possible whereabouts. Despite this breakthrough, many questions remained unanswered. During this period, Katie, still in captivity, was able to watch news coverage and hear her family members' testimonies on television. Seeing her biological mother, Marilyn, on the news deeply affected Katie. She was moved to tears, sensing the genuine pain and longing in her mother's eyes, a moment that brought her both relief and hope. Marilyn, convinced that Katie's godmother Linda and her husband Sal were responsible for the kidnapping, believed their motive stemmed from losing custody after Marilyn accused Sal of sexual abuse against Katie. Marilyn's public plea focused on her desperate wish to have her daughter back and her concern for Katie's safety.
Godmother and my godmother's husband. My godmother's husband also sexually abused me and raped me from the time that I was 2 until right before the abduction.
When Sal appeared on the news, expressing his desire for Katie to be found, Katie felt only anger. Given the serious criminal charges against him, Sal seemed to have the strongest motive for wanting Katie abducted or worse. However, lead investigator Varone was cautious. He considered the possibility that Marilyn herself might have orchestrated the abduction or tried to frame someone else, perhaps to remove Katie from a harmful environment. Theories included the idea that Marilyn, possibly with Katie's brother, could have staged the abduction, made the phone call, and left evidence to implicate John Esposito. As the investigation progressed, each family member was cleared, their alibis held up, and no evidence was found at their homes. This led the police to focus on the least likely suspect, John Esposito. Investigators retraced his steps, but found a gap of 30 to 60 minutes they couldn't account for. A search warrant allowed a full inspection of Esposito's residence, but initially, nothing incriminating was discovered. A background check soon revealed disturbing information. Despite Esposito's claims of being a member of the Big Brothers Big Sisters Association, detectives learned he had only tried to join and was rejected after a background investigation revealed his involvement in the abduction of a 7-year-old child 15 years earlier. This revelation intensified police surveillance on Esposito, drawing media attention and reporters to his home. Katie, watching the news, realized that Esposito was now the main suspect, with media and police constantly present outside his house. The truth that her trusted friend Big John was her captor was almost unimaginable to her. Although the police were finally on the right track, Varone still lacked concrete evidence and, more distressingly, had no idea where Katie was being held. As time passed, the fear grew that the search would end not with Katie's rescue, but with the discovery of her body. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Katie woke to find a chain around her neck. She discovered that a key she had previously hidden could unlock the padlock, allowing her some freedom. She became adept at quickly chaining herself up again whenever she heard Esposito approaching, mimicking precisely how he had left her. However, as police scrutiny of Esposito increased, his visits became less frequent. The investigation's relentless pressure left a visible toll on Esposito, especially during direct interrogations by Varone, whose presence seemed to drain the confidence from the suspect's face. Detective Varone grew increasingly disturbed and convinced that John Esposito was involved in Katie Beer's abduction. As the investigation closed in, Esposito began to act erratically. Making desperate requests of Katie, he attempted to convince her to play dead so he could photograph her and trick the police into believing she was no longer alive, hoping this would end their search. Katie, however, recognized the danger in this plan and steadfastly refused. Fearing it could lead to her death, from that point onward, Katie became hypervigilant. She rarely slept and avoided eating any food Esposito provided, suspecting he might try to drug her in order to stage the photograph he wanted. Instead, she decided to confront him directly, peppering him with questions about her future, how she would go to school, survive, or have a normal life. Esposito would respond with disturbing remarks, insisting she would have kids with him or marry him, to which Katie always firmly objected, expressing her disgust and trying to make him consider the long-term consequences of his actions. The mounting pressure from the police surveillance, Varone's relentless pursuit, and Katie's persistent questioning began to wear Esposito down. He eventually confided in Katie that he was contemplating suicide or fleeing, which alarmed her. She realized that if he followed through, he might kill her or abandon her to die in the dungeon.
I had started not feeling well, or had told him that I wasn't feeling well, and that had gone on for a couple of days, perhaps. And I think he was scared, finally scared that something may happen. So he was scared that I might be really sick, and I think that that's what ultimately made him tell his attorney what was going on.
Katie told him she felt unwell, hoping to further unsettle him. Finally, overwhelmed by the pressure, Esposito spoke to his attorney and admitted, "I know where Katie is, she's behind the wall." This revelation shocked everyone involved in the case, exposing Esposito as a calculating and meticulous criminal. He led the police and district attorney through a complex, multi-step process to access the hidden dungeon, moving a wheeled bookshelf, pulling back vinyl flooring, using a block and tackle to lift a 200-pound concrete slab, and finally dropping down into a concealed underground chamber. Katie realized with horror that she had unknowingly played in this space while it was being constructed, never suspecting it was built specifically for her abduction.
I was scared to death because there were two people that I had never seen outside in the dungeon, and it was very well hidden. If you're in his house, you're going to have no idea what's there. You have to pull out a bookcase, you have to roll a carpet up. And he had it situated too that if you were in the closet and for some reason rolled up the carpet, it wouldn't go past the bookshelf. And the entry to the dungeon was beyond the bookshelf. So it was very well thought out.
When the police finally broke in, Katie was initially confused by the unfamiliar faces, but relief washed over her when they identified themselves as law enforcement and assured her she was safe. Detective Varone was astonished to find Katie alive and in surprisingly good spirits, sitting on the sofa and appearing resilient despite her ordeal. It was immediately clear to him that Katie was a survivor. In police custody, Katie recounted the full extent of her ordeal. John Esposito confessed to the kidnapping and was convicted of first-degree kidnapping, receiving a sentence of 15 years to life in prison. Detective Varone's investigation also uncovered the years of abuse Katie had suffered at the hands of her family, prompting authorities to place her in foster care. For Katie, foster care was a salvation. She finally experienced the warmth of a loving family, complete with parents and siblings. Legal proceedings continued against her Uncle Sal, resulting in his imprisonment for his crimes against Katie. Grateful for Varone's unyielding dedication, Katie credited him with saving her life in more ways than one. Varone, in turn, expressed his admiration for Katie's strength and determination in a heartfelt letter, recognizing her as a truly remarkable young girl. Detective Varone expressed his heartfelt regret that Katie Beers had to endure so much before being rescued, wishing they could have found her sooner. He acknowledged that few adults could have survived what she went through, encouraging her to be proud of her strength and to continue moving forward, confident in her future success. Ultimately, Katie proved herself to be a true survivor. Rather than letting her traumatic past hold her back, she went on to achieve everything she had ever dreamed of. She built the life she always wanted, surrounded by loving parents, a devoted husband, 2 children, and a wonderful family. Reflecting on her journey, Katie often became emotional, recognizing how far she had come. Esposito had tried to imprison and exploit her, but Katie found the strength to free herself. Today, she is a best-selling author and works with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, dedicating her life to helping others. Katie believes the most powerful part of her story is the message that recovery and perseverance are possible, and that one's life is truly shaped by their own choices. She hopes every survivor of abuse understands that they are not defined by what happened to them. Katie remains determined not to let her childhood traumas dictate her adult life. While those experiences have shaped her, they do not define who she is. If this story moved you, help keep Katie's voice alive. Hit that like button, subscribe for more true crime deep dives, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the stories that must be heard. This has been The Girl in the Wall, the Katie Beers story. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay aware, and never stop listening.